One of the questions we get asked the most is, how do we decide what roads to travel, what trails to go on, what places to sleep every night? When we leave the East Coast going to the West Coast, it takes 3 days to get there, and rarely do we know where we're going to sleep at night. So we're going to show you the apps, the maps, and basically our decision-making process on how we move from point to point. There's somebody that's turning into not a guest in here this week, and you're going to see this character a lot. You remember the Jodi Master? He's back this week. We'll see y'all in a minute. All right, so one of the questions we get asked the most is, how do we decide to or what is our decision process when we just seemingly up and leave the East Coast and go west? So we have a system. We've been doing this for almost 4 years, so we have a system that's pretty well honed at this point.
Yeah, our recent Arizona trip, one of the most frequent questions we got about that is, how'd you guys plan that? I mean, you just decided you were going to go to Arizona, and like 2 days later you've got this track that you're taking through Arizona. How do you plan that fast? Well, you just break it down in little segments. So how that started, we decided with our friends that we were going to link up in Tucson. That's the first step of the journey. We're in Georgia, we got to get to Tucson. You're going to use whatever navigation app that you have. iPhone has one, Samsung, Google Maps, Waze, whatever it is you use. You're going to plan the most efficient route depending on what you want to see. We didn't want to see anything. We really wanted to get away from the cold and get to Arizona, so we took the most direct route, I guess. So that's number one. Now, sleeping along the way. What did we do about that?
So we use a lot of apps on this now. We've learned the apps over the years. We've learned the reliable ones. When like I was saying, we have the platform in the back of the mule. Well, we go to Walmart's. 2 times in a year we've slept in a walled structure. We don't do hotels. It's not our thing. So we have an app called All Stays Walmart. It tells you the RV friendly Walmarts. It tells you, if it's a friendly one, it's a green dot. If it's not friendly, it's a red dot. And a lot of them anyway, across the country have roving security patrols that they see you pull up, they come maybe check, ask you a couple of questions. You'll typically see other RVs there, so you have a little tribe with you, a little community. You'll probably talk to them a little bit. But so we use an All Stays Walmart app. That's number one. It's a multi-day trip from east to west, so there's going to be a couple of nights in parking lots, paid parking lots. So that'll be at Walmart's.
Yeah,
as a general rule.
Basically, we stay in Walmart's because we just want to get to where we're going. Walmart's going to be the most efficient. You pull up, you hop in the back, you go to sleep, wake up early, you get back on the road. If you're trying to find a camping spot, most of them are pretty far off the road. It just eats up time looking for it, unpacking the tent, unpacking everything. We just want it to be as efficient as possible, so that's where Walmart comes into play. So that's how we got from Georgia to Tucson. Now, once we got to Tucson, since neither one of us were really familiar with the area, I had definitely never been to Arizona. David's been a couple of times, but to limited spots, so we weren't really familiar with the area. A big atlas like this, I mean, there's multiple layers of information in this thing. You can get the lay of the land, you can kind of see what's going on. That's probably step number one for determining the next part of the planning.
So we get to the city that we're going to, right? That's the big picture. To break it down to the next phase, kind of the middle step, we find the campsite that we're going to use for that night, because at that point we will switch into using the tent. The reason we were there was to go from the Mexican border to the Utah border and try to be off-road as much as possible.
Right, yeah.
So we left Tucson, we started using freecampsites.net. Freecampsites.net will tell you a free campsite in that area. So you pick the area you're moving to that day. We left Tucson, we moved to an area, we went to freecampsites.net, look for the green dots. There are reviews on each one of those green dots to tell you how many spots are there, to how many vehicle spots are there, that kind of thing.
And they're pretty accurate.
Yeah, they're pretty accurate. Any restrictions, so they're very accurate. So freecampsites.net gets us to the campsite.
Right, yeah, and then once we're at the campsite, then we want to plan our activities, what we want to do. Running, climbing, those are the major things. Now our upcoming trip's going to have a lot of climbing. That's where a guidebook like this would be your next step. However, in Arizona, it was a lot of running and hiking. So something like this, a Nat Geo map, or Gaia, which is actually what we used out on that trip. Arizona is such a vast place. These babies are $12 to $14 a piece. It would have gotten really expensive buying those for every area we went to. So we consulted Gaia, and that's how we planned the next day's activities. And we moved accordingly.
Yep. Gaia is Gaia. That's how you spell it. It's a downloadable app. It has a yearly subscription. However, you can download all of these Nat Geo maps into your device via Gaia. You don't have to worry about losing service, so that if you lose service, you didn't lose your map connection.
Yeah.
You put the map in your device, you have it on hand. It'll superimpose a satellite pin of your location over the map, so you can take a Nat Geo map, turn it into real time where you're at, what you're doing. Always have a real map on you though. Always, it's just a good general rule of thumb to have a paper map with you. Mobile, electronic devices, you just don't want to get in the habit of relying on them.
Yeah, so many things can happen to these. Definitely analog is something that
we call these analog maps.
Yeah.
The paper ones.
Okay. It's definitely something that you need to have with you. A compass would be great, having that as well. A lot of people can't use them. Definitely have at least the map.
Yeah. So that's basically how it works, and then we just repeat the process.
Yeah.
We go from the big idea, break it down into the smaller area, and then we get into the day's events with the information that we need for that specific area.
Right. Yeah, any undertaking really is the same thing. You have a big picture, running 100 miles, going through the AMGA rock guide course, planning a freaking trip across the country. It's all the same. It's a big picture. You want to break it down into little segments. That's basically what everything is. Yep. Everything that we do.
And
little bites.
Every single thing we do too, by the way, how we've come across these apps is we come back from every trip, whether it be 1 day or 1 month or 1 year, and we review every single thing that needs to be addressed, and we fix those issues, and we fix them for the next trip.
Yeah.
So we don't want to get too long on these talking head things. This is not our deal.
Give a rough draft.
We want you to understand how we decide what we're doing, and we want you to just understand the process so that you can plan your own trips. And the whole point of this whole thing is for you to get out and start making these things happen for yourself.
Definitely.
So thank you very much. If you would hit like and subscribe. we really appreciate all the support, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Learn how to edit, son. We can clip some stuff. Hey everybody! Hey everybody, this week.
Hey everybody, this week we're talking about logistics.
Except for we're not calling it logistics. Because I don't like the word plan. We really don't plan per se where we're going every night. I said per se. So we know that we want to get from the East Coast to the West Coast. That's about all we know when we leave the East Coast.
Check this guy out. Fireside in a recliner. We're in some pop-up REI chairs, and this dude's got a recliner out in the woods.
Pimp glamping.
So
Glamping in the 0G chair.
You gotta throw it down. Like, woo!
Hey, you put
Oh, that
some
was
wheels on
perfect.
it, man.
what do you think?
I like it.